Hey there, everyone. I'm in week 2 of The Artist's Way, and I had said from the beginning that I was going to work on trying to reword certain things to make them more palatable, more digestible for a larger audience. Mostly I'm doing this for myself, but maybe they can help someone else out. This morning, I worked on the basic principles and finally sat here and created my own version. Now, I really hope this is not in any way stepping on Julia Cameron's toes, but I'm sure she has always, she's said it in the book, make it your own. Use the words that will help you digest. And I've heard so many, especially young people, who have now been drawn to the book because Dochi has repopularized it, because she went through it in 2020. And then in 2021, she was signed to 2 record labels. Forgive me, I have allergies this morning. Anyway, I am going to read the basic principle and then my version of it. The first 2 I have no problem with, and I guess I will write them down in the description the way I've turned them around. So the first 2, creativity is the natural order of life. Life is energy, pure creative energy. I don't think many people would have a problem digesting that. That is the truth as we know it. Scientifically, there is an underlying, this is number 2, there is an underlying indwelling creative force infusing all of life, including ourselves. Again, it's not insulting scientifically. It's not something that someone who is not a follower of any faith could get on board with, I don't think. So those 2 stay as is. Then, number 3, when we open ourselves to creativity, we open ourselves to the Creator's creativity within us in our lives. Okay, the Creator, that might it might just choke. Some people might choke on that. So I put, when we open ourselves to our creativity, we open ourselves to the fundamental creative force in life itself. When we open ourselves to our creativity, we open ourselves up to the fundamental creative force in life itself. That goes with the first 2. It's right in line. Number 4, we are ourselves creations, and we in turn are meant to continue creativity by being creative ourselves. Okay, we are ourselves creations, although again, putting it that way might trigger some people because of the word creations, which implies a creator, which some people don't believe in. And we in turn are meant to, by whom? Who are we meant to do anything by? So that is something I wanted to address. And so I put, we are ourselves creations of the very substance of the universe, which is true. We are made from star stuff. That is an actual scientific fact that you can look up. We are ourselves creations of the very substance of the universe, and as such, we are naturally imbued with that same fundamental impulse to create. So there's a fundamental impulse to create in life. Of course, there's also a fundamental impulse to destroy. Yin and yang. But we're talking about creativity. So let's focus on that aspect. And because We live in duality. Sometimes creativity involves destroying. That can take so many forms. But let's not get sidetracked. We are ourselves creations of the very substance of the universe, truth. And as such, we are naturally imbued with that same fundamental impulse to create. Obviously, right? I think number 5, creativity is God's gift to us. Major trigger. Using our creativity is our gift back to God. Yes, Julia says you can say, God is shorthand for good, orderly direction. And she insists that you change it up to whatever works for you. But many people aren't taking this in. They have, these things are deeply charged. So it's, not something you can fault someone with seeing that and going, oh, I can't do this. This is not for me. So I'm trying to make them more absorbable. So number 5, creativity is passed on to us through the substance of life itself. And being creative is a natural function of that source and substance. That source and substance, the star stuff, the stuff that the cosmos is made out of, the stuff of the universe. It is imbued with creativity and destruction, but again, we're focusing on creativity here and not getting too deep. I don't want to get into a philosophical discussion because then I'll never shut up. So creativity is God's gift to us. Using our creativity as our gift back to God turns into creativity is passed on to us through the substance of life itself, and being creative is a natural function of that source and substance. This is my first pass through these, and they may sound clunky, some of them. Maybe I'll be able to whittle them down better. I had put on the original one, I had crossed out God and just put life. So you could say creativity is life's gift to us. Using our creativity is our gift back to life. That second part might throw some people off because life is neutral. And many people cannot envision or just it's not part of their conception. And I am not saying anyone is wrong because no one knows anything, okay? People pretend to know, people can be convinced, you can have strong faith. And you know what? That's all great because faith and belief, they're powerful and necessary. And I truly believe that somehow that's the whole purpose of life, to hook onto something that connects with you and your heart and your authenticity and means something to you and drives you forward to create. Don't get stuck on creativity being connected with visual arts, with music, with any of the traditional forms of art, because creativity is so much more. In fact, when we look at it in terms of the cosmos, how magnificent is the creativity involved there? So it knows no bounds. So then, number 6, the refusal to be creative is self-will and is counter to our true nature. I had already changed it for myself to the refusal to be creative is counter to our true nature, because I felt his self-will was just, it wasn't necessary. The refusal to be creative is counter to our true nature. And again, I am not trying to knock Julia Cameron, because she's a powerhouse with this work. More than 4 decades of helping people from all walks of life, famous and everyday people, break through their creative blocks and go on to, do wonderful, amazing things in life that change their lives. So, thank you, Julia Cameron. Thank you. So, where was I? Creativity is life's gift to us. Using our creativity is our gift back to life. So you can use that if you want. Or our resistance. No. Creativity is passed on to us through the substance of life itself. Remember, we're made of star stuff. The same stuff that's out there. The same stuff that, everything that we can see. We didn't bring any material here with us. I don't really know if maybe, there are possibilities that encompass things that we cannot fathom. But as far as we know, everything we see around us was made with what was already here when we came onto the scene, right? It wasn't in that form. We had to create processes in order to, it's like alchemy, when you think about it. To take the stuff of life, the basic stuff that was already here, rock, soil, minerals, water, fire, earth, wind, the elements, and come out with this couch I'm sitting on, the phone I'm speaking on. I mean, that's miraculous in itself. And none of the materials were created by us out of the blue. They were created with stuff that was already here. The stuff that was already here came from out there in the cosmos, right? So, creativity is passed on to us through the substance of life. It's life itself. And being creative is a natural function of that source and substance. Again, look at the creativity in nature, in the universe, in anything that we don't have anything directly to do with. It's inherently creative and always looking to push itself forward and expand and become more complex. Oddly enough, become more complex. And yet, okay, again, I can get sidetracked into philosophical and deeper conversations. So we are made of that stuff. That stuff is inherently creative stuff. That source, that substance that comes from whatever source. And we're made of that. So our very material, what we're made of, is inherently imbued with creativity. So creativity is very much a part of our being. All right. Number 6, the refusal to be, oh, we said we did that already. So we were talking about the refusal to be creative is self-will and counter to our true nature. And then I crossed out as self-will and said the refusal to be creative is counter to our true nature, which if that works for you, you can do it. But I put our resistance to exploring our creativity is counter to our very nature. Because again, the very stuff we're made of is creative substance. Our resistance to exploring our creativity is counter to our very nature as extensions of the cosmos, which is all about glorious creativity and expansion, as I was saying. Number 7, when we open ourselves to exploring our creativity, we open ourselves to God, good orderly direction. And I had temporarily changed it to when we open ourselves to exploring our creativity, we open ourselves to our divine source and substance, because I resonate with divine. I'm always talking about divine guidance and, messages from the universe. And I even use the word God and goddess, and because I need a personal touch, it helps me, but that's personal. So I also sometimes get tripped up because I have a very scientifically oriented mind as well that comes in and blurts it up. But in this case, it's good blurts because it helps me to encompass more. So number 7, when we open ourselves to exploring our creativity, we open ourselves to God, good orderly direction. Again, some people can't get to good orderly direction because they're stuck on the word God and it's triggering, and for a reason. So I changed it to when we open ourselves to exploring our creativity, we open ourselves to our direct connection to the cosmos, to life, to our source and substance. You don't have to use all 3. You can choose one. When we open ourselves to exploring our creativity, we open ourselves to our direct connection to the cosmos, to life, to our source and substance, and our true nature. These are all in line with those first 2, that creativity is the natural order of life. At least I think. Please tell me what you think in the comments, and also share how you've changed yours up. Even if they involve your faith, I'm open to everything. What works for you? Share. Let's share so that more people can break through the blocks holding them back and take in the message. Don't worry about the messenger, but take what you can from the message, because sometimes, many times, I've read books where I was going to put them down. I'm reading such a book right now, which in the first few pages, I read something that was so against the definition of a thing for scientifically, that I was like, I can't do this. And looking the author up, I found a lot of, not a lot of stuff which I wouldn't say was an absolute deal breaker, except for some things, but allegations, I'm reading the book. I'm almost at the end. The person has not said another thing that hasn't just absorbed so well into my being that hasn't been in line with my thinking, that hasn't been right there with, yeah, that's how I feel. You put into words something that I couldn't explain, and thank you so much, and a million thanks for these valuable exercises. So try to separate the message from the messenger. Try not to trigger, judge, try not to judge. It's very difficult in some cases. I know. But let's try to stay open, because it helps us to find the answers and solutions we need, right? Judging closes us off. And there's more to it, There's always multifacetedness. Judging closes us off to all of that. And I can go into an hour of talking about that. Number 8. As we open our creative channel to the Creator, many gentle but powerful changes are to be expected. Easily you could say, which I did, as we open ourselves to our creative channel, many gentle but powerful changes are to be expected. I put, as we open our creative, okay, let's start over because I read that wrong. Number 8, as we open our creative channel to the Creator, many gentle but powerful changes are to be expected. I read that right. So I wrote, for me, as we open our creative channel to the divine source, many gentle but powerful changes are to be expected. So that's faith-based, but more open. You can say, as we open our creative channel to our source, many gentle but powerful changes are to be expected. Or you can just say, as we open our creative channel, many gentle but powerful changes are to be expected. I changed it to, as we open our creative channels and reconnect more and more with the source of our creativity, many possibilities are triggered that may never have been otherwise. And we can expect many gentle yet powerful changes in our lives as we open our creative channels and reconnect more and more with the source of our creativity. Many possibilities are triggered that may never have been otherwise, and we can expect many gentle yet powerful changes in our lives. Some of these are long and clunky, and they could be whittled down, and I probably will. Number 9, it is safe to open ourselves to greater and greater creativity. I love that statement. It really resonates with me. So, I had circled it and highlighted it. I just added, it is completely safe to open ourselves to greater and greater creativity, as it means remembering and reconnecting with the reality of who we are and what we're made of. And number 10, our creative dreams and yearnings come from a divine source. As we move toward our dreams, we move toward our divinity. And I changed it to, our creative dreams and yearnings come from somewhere deep within that has never forgotten that connection with life. Now, when I use life throughout these, I capitalize it. Our creative dreams and yearnings come to us from somewhere deep within that has never forgotten that connection with life, the universe, source and substance, and what is possible. You can use any of those or all of them. As we move towards our dreams, we move towards a more and more expanded, spacious, connected self that remembers all of this consciously. Members all of this consciously. So it's like a soul retrieval, you know? And there you have it. That's my initial playing around with the wording on the basic principles and trying to make them more accessible for those who are stuck on the triggering words that may not reflect their beliefs, that may bring back, you know, memories they don't want, that are anti trying to connect with anything creative, or for whatever reason. So I hope that this has helped anyone out there. Please leave a comment and let me know. And please like this video. Please, I'm trying to get my channel to rise up. I know that there's not a lot of really engaging stuff in here yet. It's just my documentation of my rising up from rock bottom to trying to lift myself up, not trying, to lifting myself up back on my feet, as having come to a complete surrender after banging my head against the wall for so long. And you'll see my GoFundMe videos. I made an update yesterday on GoFundMe. The link in the videos links to it. And I did have within me the clash between my message and its sense of desperation, which is what I feel when I'm dealing with my GoFundMe, because I'm coming to the end. And this whole project of not entertaining failure and trying to change my wording to understand the vibratory frequency of words. Again, this is not, doesn't require faith in anything. There is truth in vibratory frequencies, and it is being experimented on now, if that funding hasn't been cut off, but some of it is already in use for treatments for certain types of cancers and other things, aiming frequencies at the disease, the tumors, that are matched with the frequency of the disease and tumor. And this was stuff from way back when. If you've ever read Vibrational Medicine by Gerber, I think his last name is, it's on my shelf, and other books, I've been reading about this stuff for decades. And if you've read about the, what was that machine called that guy made that was supposed to be able to, it had programmed in it the frequencies of every disease, he said, and he would hook it up to people with electrodes, I guess, and, you know, send that frequency into them, and supposedly it would bust up the disease. But there's so much more than that, and they are experimenting with some techniques using ultrasound and MRI. So, like I said, some are already in use. I think one for prostate cancer, maybe even lung cancer. I think the one using ultrasound, already in use. I think it's in that stage where they're now using it on people, that final stage where they've gone through all the, clinical tests. And yeah, you can look up the scientific papers. I read journals and stuff. I'm not quoting like weird articles from Facebook or anything like that. But I was astounded that they finally came around to the fact that there's real substance in that. We are made of frequencies, and every disease and every organ has its very own frequency. And I had written some channeled message so many years ago about how if we were all, or if, we were with somebody or a group of people that we really clicked with, we were making beautiful music together, like literally, like a chorus, like a harmony, like a chord that's in tune. So maybe that's another story time. I did a story time last night. Really freaking fun story. And a part of my life, a happening in my life that was magical. One of the handful of things in my life where I was like, wow, this is so awesome. So even though the lighting is dark, don't let that turn you off if you want to listen to it. I did it on my deck last night with the light from the kitchen illuminating me and the background dark. But it was a nice vibe for story time. And my videos are of low quality. I think YouTube tries to up them, but they probably suck on a big screen because my phone is old and I don't have a laptop and all that. So I have to use the shrinkiest quality. So anyway, that's it. I hope that this helped you. Please leave a comment. Please share your own changes. Share your thoughts, whether they be faith-based or atheistic or agnostic. I'm open to all of it. And know that these have been made specifically as an attempt, an experiment, and also I'm going to use them for myself. And that's it. Be well. Have a beautiful day.